Hello,
Hi.
it's great to finally meet you,
Yes.
and I'm excited to have you in the class.
I'm actually really excited as well.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much for sending over the detailed information for our conversation now in advance of tonight. It sounds like you've improved quite a bit in your LSAT studying.
Yeah, I've definitely come a long way.
What do you attribute your success to thus far? I mean, high 140s to the 170s is a huge increase that a lot of people would kill for.
Yeah. Well, I think so. The first diagnostic I actually took was, I don't know if that reflected my actual score because I had 3 finals that day. I was just kind of dead by the time I took it. But I think a lot of it was just I studied so much over the summer. But I think a lot of it also was like gaining confidence as I was studying so much. So I'm taking the LSAT in June, and I don't know, I like stumbled across your blog somehow online. I was just Googling like a ton of LSAT stuff, just came across it and I was like, okay. So then I downloaded the free cheat sheet and I thought that was cool and I liked it a lot. And then bought one of your study plans. I think the 3-month study plan is what I bought from you. And then I just like liked what I was seeing and I liked how interactive you were and how you were constantly sending emails and you were like making them kind of funny because then it kind of took the weight off of the LSAT pressure. And so I just decided to try it. One of the issues I've been running into on like lately on practice tests is that I'm always between 2 answers. And most of the time I do pick the right one, but I want that confidence that I know I'm picking the right one instead of second guessing myself. In general, logical reasoning has always been my weakest, which sucks because it's 50% of the test. Logic games, I'm fine on. I can pretty much take any test and almost get a perfect on logic games every time, which is nice. So I think logical reasoning just in general. And then I guess maybe the flaws and how to approach the flaws.
Thanks so much for taking the time. I'm excited to have you in the course.
Thank you. I'm excited too. So
Great. I just wanted to get to know you a bit better before we start off next week. So I was hoping to get a sense of what you're struggling with now and what led you to join. Can you just share a bit on what led you to choose to join the online LSAT class?
Yes. Well, I think it's like I tried different type of aspects and courses, but I think I need like a little bit more of like how can I tell you, like I guess guidance in a way, certain things that maybe I don't understand, looking at the book. And so if I have any questions, who am I going to ask,
Yeah, of course. So what are you hoping specifically that we cover together in the class?
Mainly like my concerns a lot is like with LR, especially like with flaws. And I have like a love and hate type of relationship with LG. So there's some things, sometimes I'm excited, I love it. And then sometimes I don't understand the game and it just frustrates me. I'm like, oh my God, I give up. And, and that's what happened to me in 2017, I think, for the December LSAT. So I got really frustrated and I'm the type of person, if I don't understand something, like I guess it just gets to me and then I just quit, which is bad.
But it sounds like you're not quitting now.
Yeah, now it's like, with the whole digital thing, like I have concerns because I don't know, what to expect, like how that would work and stuff. Because I like doing things on paper. So that's why I'm going for the June and hopefully, that's the last time. I hope so.
Yeah, of course. And I hope it is too. Now, I know there are a lot of different online classes out there, even some of which are live. I'm wondering what led you to choose mine.
It's actually affordable compared to the rest. And usually like some of these courses, they're asking you for thousands of dollars. And they don't even explain you into details. And then I've browsed your blog a lot. So it has helped me with certain things like, the videos for the games and stuff like that. So I think it's pretty interesting and I want to try it and see hopefully that, and I've also read like there's comments of like, I guess people you have put in on your site and stuff like that. And there was one guy that he got the score that I got in December and I was like, oh my God. And for him to increased 20 points, I was like, wow. I was like, maybe I need to try something different. Maybe he can, approach certain things that I don't know and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. People can improve a lot. And I think having a community of students and seeing the previous stories of those who've been through the process is enormously helpful. And so the stories you've seen on my site, some of them I've actually got full LSAT diaries where students of the past wrote in their entire study journeys, and you could see exactly what they did to go from the low scores, like let's say they're in the 140s, all the way to the 160s and beyond. But whatever your starting point is, there is room for improvement. And I have the stories on my site of those who've been there along the way. And then I think in the present now, one of the things I'm hoping to do is build this community of students, like a small community,
right,
and kind of share each other's stories and see the process as we get to know each other and go through it together.
Right.
So we'll be getting to know each other pretty well over the next 10 weeks between now and June. And I'll look forward to connecting with you then. Anything else you want to share with me before we get started next week?
No, I mean, that's the only my concern, I guess, with all our LG and, I've been going actually through the weekly calendar that you have, like, if it's 2 months, 3 months that, depending how we're studying and stuff like that. And, it's helping me a lot because that's another thing too, because I work and now I actually decided to work part-time and take time off so I can have time to study and dedicate myself to this 100%.
I love it. I'm so glad that the schedule has helped you. It's one of the most popular things I offer, and it really does help to just break things down specifically, covering exactly what you need, when you need it, every single day over the entire course of your prep. Now, one of the things you mentioned about the cost, it's kind of funny. I think I might have charged too little for it because I only have a few slots left. But one of the reasons I wanted to make the class affordable is because we have the internet now. To teach a live online class, it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars. We don't need to rent a conference room. We don't need to print out books and things like that. Everything is digital. We have the digital LSAT coming. And so I figured, let me try this out. Let me make it affordable. I like teaching these classes anyway, and I like making videos anyway. So why not make it accessible for people,
Right, exactly. So, that's another thing that I'm a little concerned of the digital LSAT. I don't know what to expect with that, but for now, I'm just thinking about June,
Yeah.
And then whatever happens, I'll sign up for the July or September, whatever happens. But for now, I just want to, do the June and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I totally agree, Daphne. And here's what I'm going to do. Here's my plan. For the live online LSAT masterclass, I'm going to orient it with an eye towards June. But because there's only a 5 to 6 week gap between June and July, I actually am recommending that most people take both of them because you only have to stay fresh on the LSAT for another month or so, and your score does better. You do better, that's great. Law schools only take the higher score anyway, so there's really no downside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on June, but I will, along the way, every week, share some insights and strategies for those who are thinking about July in the event they get digital. And I'll share with you, honestly, the simplest thing right now is if you can get the PDFs and practice with them on the screen and have your scrap paper on the side, that's the best way to go for it until LSAC releases more. But I'll also be sharing LSAC's familiarization tool. They have a whole LSAT on there. And so we'll walk through what that looks like together starting next week on Monday.
Right. And then now with the whole writing thing, I think that also helps, release a little bit of stress because I think they're going to give you the option of either, because I called and they told me, either you can stick with the one you actually wrote in December 2017, or you can go ahead and do the one in June. But I think you will have to pay additional.
Yeah, it's an additional $15 to do the digital online writing sample. But it is nice, of course, going forward, no matter what, you don't have to do it at the test center. You can do it separately. You can do it separately later. Like you do the 5 LSAT sections of content, but then you have up to 1 year after your test date. Do it from home whenever on your computer later. So at least that way your brain won't be fried after doing all the LSAT stuff,
Right. Exactly. So hopefully that helps a lot.
Excellent. Great, Daphne. Well, I'm going to send you some resources on what to prep for Monday's class on logic games. A couple of game sections I want you to at least take a look at between now and then. But even if you can't, that's okay. We'll go through them together on Monday night.
Yeah, because my concern a lot is like I like basic sequencing and grouping, but when it comes to like the in and out, it kind of like, I have like problems, and I'm like, oh my god, then it gets a little tricky and stuff like that. So I think that's something that I want to maybe talk to you about, and maybe a few games, and you can bring it up and in the class and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm definitely going to want to cover grouping in and out games, and I'm glad that you referenced them. The grouping and the harder games, that's where people struggle. The in-out conditional sequencing, conditional chains, that's a big thing. These games with conditional linking together the multiple rules and such. And so I'm going to want to look at least a few examples with that, and I'll definitely take your feedback into consideration when I structure what we're going to cover on Monday night.
Okay, perfect.
All right, Daphne, great. Well, it was great connecting with you today. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll look forward to seeing you Monday night.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And Colin, wow. Well, I'm so looking forward to having you in the masterclass starting on Monday. How you feeling?
Good. Me as well.
First off, what led you to join?
Well, I'm self-studying, but I think the main thing joining, I wanted something kind of a supplement, kind of more added tools that I can use to perform the best of my ability for the June exam. But also, it's my first time taking it. So even if it doesn't go well, I'll have kind of a better foundation to take, a future exam.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good. And you're starting the process early. You still have the July LSAT, the 3 in the fall. So you have many options ahead of you, but I'm glad that you're starting early and we'll have this time together.
Right.
What are your biggest LSAT struggles right now? I saw you mentioned over email that you haven't gotten into timed work yet.
Right. So probably everything, but I think logic games are my weakest. I think that's something I kind of would want to go back and kind of start from scratch with. But I think reading comprehension, I think I have pretty good understanding with. That's something I'm pretty good with. And the logical reasoning, that's one of the sections I like the most. But it's kind of sometimes I find that sometimes I'm getting a lot of wrong answers because it's tricky. I think I have the right answer, but then it's always hard to choose. I find myself choosing between two answers.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really common situation, and that's something we'll definitely cover during the logical reasoning portion of the class. Now, which of my LSAT resources have you used so far?
Well, I got your cheat sheets, and I've browsed your blog, some of your articles, and I've watched some of your YouTube videos.
Awesome. Great. Are there any particular areas that you're hoping that we cover together in the class, aside from what I laid out in the syllabus, or maybe going in more depth in one particular area?
Yeah, so for the logic games, I think, I guess how to make, one diagram. I think I find myself time consuming trying to, for different questions, trying to make more than one diagram. But I know, that's not the proper way. You should have one diagram to be able to make inferences to answer the other questions.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I'd say that for some games, yes. For some games, there is one main diagram with tons of inferences on it that can unlock the game. But in other cases, it may be different. And so we're going to look at some of those where that does apply and some games where it doesn't. Mm-hmm. I saw you mentioned that you had a few books of exams. Which exams do you have?
So I have I have 62 through 81.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Great. Yeah, solid recent material. We'll be looking at some of that recent material together and some other stuff too to kind of contrast the similarities and differences, because I think that especially in these more recent exams, they actually don't let you make a ton of inferences up front. You will have one main diagram, but it'll be kind of open-ended.
Okay.
You'll have to do more over the course of the game. And so I would just caution you, think about having some flexibility in your approach where you may not always be able to solve a game exactly the same way every time. Unfortunately, right. they're just too clever for that, They're
Yeah.
asking more of us.
Okay. And I think the other thing, I think I've heard you mention this in a few videos, that there are, the LSAC has some trial and error for getting exposure to the digital exam.
I'll get more into that every step of the way. Like when we cover games, I'll talk digital LSAT games. We talk reasoning, I'll talk digital LSAT reasoning, and so on. But to answer your question directly, overall, the trial and error with the tablet, I guess what I may have been alluding to is that I think their format isn't amazing. I don't love the digital LSAT as it exists right now, but it is what it is. We'll make the best of it. I think that someone taking the digital LSAT 3 to 5 years from now, it may look slightly different, but we'll see. For now, though, of course, we've got what we've got. What you see on LSAC's site at familiar.lsac.org is a solid representation of what you may be taking in July, or what you will definitely take if you take it in the fall. And so I think that overall, it just is what it is, and we'll work with what they're giving us. And the biggest thing, of course, I think, is that you can't draw freehand on the tablet. You have to draw separately on your scrap paper and kind of go back and forth between them. And so my digital LSAT wish list, item number 1 would be let people draw on the tablet. And so I think that they're going to see that it's not working out so great for folks as it exists, especially I think for older applicants who aren't quite as tech comfortable or tech savvy,
Right.
and they may want to adjust that. But for younger folks who are more attuned to digital stuff, and if you're used to like doing work with PDFs on the screen and writing on the side, then I think that you'll be well prepared for that.
Okay.
Any other concerns or questions on the digital LSAT?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, I'll be getting more into it as we go along each step for a games, reasoning, reading comp, and then later when we're reviewing particular LSAT problems.
Okay.
So class starts Monday night. Where are you located, by the way?
New Jersey.
New Jersey, awesome. Okay, yeah, so I'm in the city. You should come to a meetup sometime if it's not too far.
Okay.
I'm doing one on the 23rd at my office in downtown Brooklyn. I'll be doing a free logic games class. You're more than welcome to come by. I'd love to have you down there.
Okay.
If you can make it. And I'll probably be doing something monthly anyway. So Monday at 8, we'll be doing logic games. And I'll send you a few links after our call now for you to look at, just some particular LSAT games I'm planning to potentially cover. And of course, if you have any particular requests on types of games, like ordering, grouping, and so on, just shoot me an email and I'll try to work it in. But I've also noted the particular things you mentioned about main diagram and such.
Sure.
All right, Colin, any other questions before we sign off for now?
No, I'm sure I'll have some for Monday though.
Yeah, great. Just keep in touch, shoot me emails if anything, and I'll see you Monday at 8.
Okay, great.
I'm excited to have you in the course. I'm looking forward to having you in the class over the next 10 weeks between now and the June LSAT.
Me too.
So I was just hoping, Liz, to get a little sense of what led you to join the class and what you're hoping to get out of it.
Well, I wanted to self-study. So I'm like, oh, it's an opportunity. I'll take advantage.
So what sort of weak areas are you hoping that we'll focus on, that we'll cover?
Mindset and logical reasoning.
Okay, so what about mindset specifically?
Because I notice when I get the right answer, I hesitate. But I know it's the right answer.
Yeah, I get what you mean. So does that happen in particular question types or sections?
Just in general for logical reasoning.
Okay, and then logical reasoning, any particular weak areas, anything that gives you particular trouble within that section?
Yeah, just a lot of hesitation. I know it's the right answer, but my mind wants a second guess.
Yeah, this is a really common problem. So I think that one of the benefits you'll get out of the class is being in a community of students who are kind of going through the same thing. Now, I know that you joined us for the meetup a couple weeks ago at my office in Brooklyn. What was that like for you?
I felt like everyone was very supportive of one another, and I felt motivated to actually try harder with the LSAT this time around. I took it in February last year.
What happened for you back in February?
I was studying all the time, and I wasn't pushing myself hard enough, but in the moment, I thought I was studying like all the time, but it wasn't productive work.
So was it one of those things like studying smarter but not studying harder that you're looking to do differently this time?
Yeah.
What was your study plan like last time around?
Well, I'd study about like 10, 15, 20 hours a week, like Monday through Saturday.
So that's a good amount. That's a good amount of time. You could do a lot with that, but what were you doing back then?
I was doing mostly untimed sections.
Okay. And what are you planning to do differently this time around going for June?
Focusing on each question type before doing the prep test, so I actually can understand the concept better instead of diving in.
Yeah, that's definitely what you want to do. You definitely want to learn the fundamentals first. But I certainly made the same mistake back when I was studying. And so now one of my focuses is structuring your study plan so that you know exactly what to do every single day between now and the exam. And that's one of the things that we'll be covering together in this live online LSAT masterclass. Every week we'll meet, we'll talk about what happened the prior week, we'll talk about what you should be working on during the upcoming week. And I laid out the syllabus for the class all 10 weeks. Did you have a chance to take a look at that?
Yes.
Awesome. Are there any particular weeks that you're especially excited about or looking forward to?
Definitely getting into the prep test. Because once we cover the fundamentals, I'm interested to see how I'm going to do under your trading.
So we're going to start with a bit of the fundamentals for each of the sections, games, reasoning, and reading comp. But then the bulk of it's going to be review of recent full-length timed exams that you're taking in the lead up to test day. What's your review process like now?
I usually do the questions, then when I do like 10, 15, I go with the answers and I read some of the explanations.
Okay, excellent. That's good. What about articulating your own thought process, though? Do you ever write out your own thoughts about a particular question or keep a journal of some kind?
I don't really jot down my thoughts.
Okay, that's something we'll be talking about over the next few weeks, because not enough students do it, but that's really where the biggest benefit, that's the biggest benefit you get out of your studying and your review. Because the explanations you see elsewhere, they're great, they're useful, but they're just one person's perfect way of doing it. And most people are not perfect, especially under timed conditions, right? So together, as we analyze the problems, I want to be looking for what could be happening for you during a timed practice test experience where that time pressure obviously has an enormous impact, right?
Right.
So we have to make some of those tough choices, especially coming back to what you were saying earlier about mindset, right? You might kind of be stuck or bogged down or down to two and not sure what to do, especially in logical reasoning, right?
Yeah, I noticed like, oh, now the choice is down, and I'll be like, oh, maybe it is C, but it'll end up being D, but sometimes I also want to write down B.
Yeah, these are tough dilemmas, and there's not always a right answer to it, but we'll walk through some of the specific cases that have been giving you trouble in logical reasoning in particular. That week's coming up pretty soon, so we'll definitely have a focus for you on that one there. Anything else you're hoping to get out of the class, or anything else that led you to join for those who might be thinking about it?
I've noticed that you mentioned speeding up in some sections, and I'm interested in learning how to do that. I'd rather have 2 minutes at the end of each section to have a little breather than have to stress out about having a bubble on like 6 answers at the end.
Yeah, definitely. So speeding up, really important, obviously. You could get everything perfect untimed, but then when it comes to timing, things fall apart. This is, of course, a really intensely, strictly timed exam.
Yeah, that happened to me when I was studying for last February. Untimed, I was doing great, but timed, I was like, oh, like I still have like 4 answers in your bubble, like 30 seconds. That did happen to me on test day last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it happens to a lot of folks, and there's some strategies we can use to mitigate that, related to pacing especially, because logical reasoning, it really is a bit of a mind game. And so there's lots of mental hacks you can use aside from just the exam content itself to think about. Because again, there's the untimed experience, just learning the content, but then under timed conditions, there's an extra pressure that we want to be thinking about and focusing on.
I think in your most recent email, you suggested doing prep tests at your testing center, which is something I did for February.
Yeah, definitely. Where are you taking it?
Pace.
Awesome. Yeah, Pace is a fairly decent LSAT test center. I think you'd probably have a good experience there. I haven't heard too much negative related to that. But also at the same time, you want to be ready for anything. So we'll talk about what to do, like dealing with a small desk, what to do if the proctors or other test takers are distracting you. And so, yeah, those are definitely some things that we'll be thinking about too. Well, I'm really excited to have you on board, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the group next Monday night at 8 p.m.
That'd be fun.
Hey, this is Tommy.
Hey, Tommy. Steve Schwartz here. How you doing?
Hey, doing good, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, thanks. This is still a good time for you to speak?
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for your enthusiasm. Thanks for getting back to me. And I'm excited to hear that you're interested in joining the masterclass.
Yeah, I'm so excited to join the masterclass. I feel like that's going to be kind of not just one more resource because every resource is helpful to me in some way. But I think it'll have like an extra thing that I can add to my arsenal of stuff.
So what let me ask you, what led you to consider joining the masterclass? What about it appeals to you?
Well, okay. That's a great question. I'm not sure if its mere existence is appealing specifically because there's so little out there that's not just a big, like, 500-page book. I think I remember you saying something about that online, and more or less they're all the same. The individual sort of attention is, and the personal insight that comes from LSAT tutors, I feel like is valuable, and to get it from a master class, I feel is, on par with getting it from somebody individually,
That's kind of what it's meant to replicate. Obviously, nothing perfectly mimics one-on-one interaction, but one of the unique things I'm doing with the masterclass is that I'm orienting it around the specific needs of the students in the class. So I have a general framework, but honestly, I'm just co-creating the curriculum with the students in the class. Each week, I solicit requests on what to include, and then during each class session, we cover exactly what the students asked for.
Okay, well that does make sense. And I filled out some stuff for you actually earlier today to be included on other things, and I know that you're probably looking for a specific type of person to kind of join in this. I suppose that kind of person is somebody who's far enough along to understand some of the finer details regarding maybe strategies and question explanations that deal with more nuanced and like less broadly applicable issues. Is that a fair assessment?
I would certainly say so. Yeah, I'm looking for highly motivated, self-driven students who are not starting off from complete scratch, although it's okay if they are. I'm looking for folks who are investing themselves in their prep enough so that they can maximize what they get out of the class with me.
Perfect. Well, as far as that goes, I feel like there's a lot to learn from people, and everybody has a different experience. You and other students, and being a part of that, I'm super, super excited for that reason, because it's gonna be these highly motivated students, and they're going to be coming with all the different situations that they themselves face. Might not be something I think of off the bat, might not be something I ever think of. So good stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of the benefit you get is from the questions other students are asking, because you may not have thought to ask them, you may not have known to ask them, and you may have different areas of strength and weakness, but it always helps to get another take on a particular question.
I agree. Yeah, so I heard reading comprehensions on Monday, actually, and it's funny that it should work out like that. I just absolutely burnt out on logic games. I've been doing them for 2 weeks, and I've decided to stop hitting my head against the wall and move on to RC. So I feel like it's going to be so great to jump right in with something that I'm tackling next. Have at least a little bit of time to orient myself within the section and figure out where to really minimize the mistakes, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely. I think reading comp, more than any other section, it is tough to perfect 100%. Typically, the average 170 scorer is getting perfect or maybe -1 on games, but then they are getting 3 wrong on each of the other sections. And obviously, we do want to minimize that. But it is something that we do want to minimize more than perfect, just because perfection on reading comp, more than any other section, I think is difficult to achieve. It has those ambiguities of language that games does not. But that being said, we will work on it as much as we possibly can. So I think you're coming in at the right time. And I wasn't sure whether I was going to reopen the doors to the master class, but I think that you strike me as someone highly motivated and driven, and you'll be able to watch the recordings of the previous classes to get caught up to speed.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's actually great that we're on reading comp. I just remembered that I kind of prepared actually a question for you regarding that. I got so excited I kind of glazed over actually your assessment of scoring on it. But part of my question would be what do you think of my approach? And then the next part would be, what is your experience with people who do end up getting to the point where they can get -1 or -2 or per section? I don't know if you want to go into that with me right now.
Yeah, sure. Why don't we do a quick take on it now, and then we can go into more depth during the class on Monday.
Sure. Okay, so I guess if I'm going to do both parts, let me just take you like brief 3 steps. I do a very skeletal summary as I go along. This is like 1 word per paragraph. I'll look at it and then I'll answer all the questions based on what I've read like really actively. One of the strategies I'd employ in practicing is, of course, getting to know each type of question really well and identifying exactly what it's asking for so I can find it better. And I guess my big question is, do you have like something that you'd like to add to like those kinds of steps as I'm kind of starting RC for the first time?
You have a skeletal framework of the passage, and then you have a step-by-step approach for each question?
Less step-by-step and more practicing identifying exactly what the question asks for. So agree and disagree questions, I suppose, are easier than maybe primary purpose questions where you have to identify like exactly why the writer is motivated to write something like that or something along that strain.
Okay, so we'll have to look into this a little bit more, because the primary purpose question and the main idea questions, those actually, you want those to be the easiest for yourself after having read the passage, because those are the most general, broad questions they could possibly ask you. So I think we want to actually reorient the approach a little bit so that you'll walk away from the passage knowing the primary purpose, knowing the main idea, and then the more inferential questions that come later could actually be a little bit tougher, and that's okay.
I see. So maybe instead of I wouldn't sharpen the contrast between the hard and easy questions as much as I will do in this next question. I'll make it short again. But as far as that's concerned, I suppose the inferential questions probably have, patterned answer choices, patterned questions that after enough repetition you start to recognize that maybe I haven't gotten to that point yet, but that would be one of my primary goals before I take it in June.
Yeah, there certainly are patterns. I think there are especially patterns in the tempting wrong answer choices and the discouraging right answer choices. In reading comprehension, more than any other section, it is a matter of process of elimination, because you're rarely going to love the wording of the correct answer. So it's more about eliminating the wrong ones, and then whatever's left, even if you don't love it, you do have to pick it by process of elimination.
All right. Well, I think that's a great start. I'm not sure if I know that you've got a lot of people to call, though.
Yeah, but this was definitely helpful for me, Tommy, just to know where you're at going in for the master class on Monday. So I'm going to note the particular questions you raised about reading comp approach, and I'll incorporate them into Monday's class.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for calling me tonight.
Of course, Tommy, my pleasure. I'll send over everything to get you set up for the class, and I'll look forward to seeing you Monday.
Thanks a lot. See you later. Bye-bye.
My pleasure. See you. Bye.
I just wanted to thank you and give you some feedback about how I felt about this. I feel like the way you're able to pivot and change your teaching strategies really helps me. I've had some other experiences with tutors where if I ask a question, which I can tell the way they react to it, it was a dumb question, or it was a low level question. And other experiences I've had, it's made me feel kind of bad when the other person reacts to it and they get frustrated that I'm not getting it. But for example, in the logic game we were doing when we were talking about sufficient and necessary, you changed your teaching strategy and you reframed the question in a way that I understood, and then I immediately got it. And that made me feel good. So number one, I got it, and number two, you were patient and you were willing to work with me. That those two things together really helped me have a success and feel really good about learning something and making progress with the logic game. So I really appreciate that.
That's really nice of you to say. I appreciate your feedback on that, because that's exactly what I strive to do. I actually had my own experience with a tutor back when I was studying, and he tried to be nice about it, but at one point he let out this sigh that made me feel like a complete idiot. And he would like just kind of walk through the problem and say, oh, it's easy, you just do X, Y, Z. And it was easy when he would do it.
Right.
But then when I was doing it on my own later, I kind of hit a wall and didn't know where to go next. So it means a lot to me that you said that. I try to kind of reframe things and explain it in the way that works best for the student, not just some prescribed, pre-recorded lecture.
It shows. It really shows. It's like it's really cool, like being the student in that case, because like I can totally feel myself get nervous and feel myself get like almost like apprehensive that that we're miscommunicating. But then you kind of step in and then you find a way to get that communication go through. So it felt really good. Yeah.
That's great to hear. Well, when you're in New York, definitely please reach out. If I'm holding a meetup, I'd love to have you come by.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Well, take it easy. All the best in your prep, and please keep in touch.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Have a good rest of your day. Good luck with all the rest of the sessions. And yeah. Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Of course. All the best. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.